Welcome to another exciting episode of Gate City Chronicles. I'm Kevin Avard, your host, and I'm proud to introduce my next guests from right at home, Janet Sullivan. Welcome.
Nice to be here.
And Nicole Porter.
Thank you guys for having us. We're excited to be here.
Welcome to the show. I could remember your name because you got your name tag right there. So let's talk. Right at home. What is Right at Home all about?
Right at Home is all about helping seniors and the disabled in all over southern New Hampshire. Right at Home opened up in Londonderry, New Hampshire about 4 years ago. And my husband and I started it really based out of our own personal situation that we had helping to take care of my mother-in-law. She had Alzheimer's, and she was at a point where she couldn't stay at home anymore. She had to go into assisted living, and then as she digressed, she needed more help. She ended up falling and breaking her hip a couple of times. Going into the hospital, into rehab, was not doing well at all. So we sent her back home with my sister-in-law, who gave up her own business, and we enlisted the help of home care. This was down in the Boston area, actually. And within a couple of weeks, she was another person, having one-on-one care at home in comfortable surroundings with family. So 4 years ago, my husband was in the insurance agency, and I was always been in healthcare, and we wanted to get into something new. So we decided to get into home care so that we could help others and really be able to see the kinds of improvements and the differences that we made in my mother-in-law's life in those of other seniors.
So having gone through it, it makes it a lot easier for you to empathize with people that are going through the very same thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. We know that it's something, obviously, where the aging population is growing, exploding, if you will. Right. And there's a lot of needs, especially because there are so many people who want to stay at home. They don't want to give up their home. They don't want to give up their independence. And we're there to help them be able to age at home.
Now, you said you were in the medical industry, but this is a non-medical service.
It is. It is.
Correct.
And I'll talk about medical, non-medical.
The difference between medical and non-medical home care is such that, we're not sending our caregivers in to do any sort of a nursing need. So they're really doing, our focus is on, the activities of daily living, which include, bathing, dressing, eating, meal preparation, things that you do out throughout the course of your normal day. And, we do work with some clients that have, Hoyer lifts and more in-depth services that they require, but we're not a VNA, so we wouldn't be going out and doing, say, wound care on someone. But certainly, making sure somebody's comfortable and, just helping them maintain their day-to-day activities in the home is what we're there for.
So independence seems to be one of the things that you folks provide for people. Some people would say, well, home care, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose my independence and the whole 9 yards. But the people that are actually taking care of their parents and don't want to send them into a nursing home but want them to stay home, this is a nice assistance to help them along the way.
It is.
Absolutely.
And there are many different scenarios where non-medical home care fits in quite nicely. You might have a couple at home who just need a little bit of help doing the things that take more physical oomph, cleaning the bathrooms and changing beds, and they may have hip and shoulder issues and things like that. But then you also have people who are just coming out of the hospital, or maybe they fell and broke their hip and they went to rehab and they're coming home, and they still have some medical needs, if you will. They may be starting new medication. They're maybe having physical therapy at home with a VNA type service. One thing I wanted to point out about the non-medical versus medical is in order for a service to be considered skilled home care, you have to have a prescription from your doctor for it. So, and it's something typically more invasive, like somebody needs wound care, infusion therapy. They need shots. So that's really what the big difference is, and along with that comes the differences in how that home care is paid for.
Right. Tell us a little bit about that. How is this funded? Is it, is it the insurance recognize you as providers, or how does that work?
Unfortunately, at this point, the non-medical is primarily private pay.
Okay.
Again, it doesn't come from a doctor's prescription, even though in many cases it is needed for somebody to go home from the hospital. But because it's more geared to, as Nicole said, activities of daily life. However, there are people who have long-term care insurance that have provisions for home care, and that is something that we can accept, and we do have clients like that.
It just so happens that I know somebody who is actually going through the very same thing that you provide. A neighbor of mine, a good friend, he's 80 years old, and she's approaching, an older age, and I don't know exactly her age. They're in good health. He's about 80 years old, like I said, but he's worried that if he gets injured, how will he take care of her? And so by having that home care come in to supplement, his blood pressure's gone down, she's doing better, the little chores are being taken care of. And one of the things that he did mention was the fact that he has that long-term care that does pay for that. So I just see a glow on his face, and they just actually went on a trip just this week. I'm not trying to give you a super plug here, but the reality of it is, this is a great service.
It is. I mean, and it is a lot. It is peace of mind. Unfortunately, those with long-term care insurance with the home care provision are in the minority. I think it's very telling for us now, the next generation. I know my husband and I just recently got some long-term care insurance and planning for the future so that we'll have that in place. But a lot of people, let's say back from our parents, our grandparents, a generation, they don't have it. There are a couple of other sources as well. Veterans, there's a program out called Aid in Attendance. And for veterans who served in any of the major wars, and even if they're deceased, but their spouse can benefit from some services paid for by the Veterans Administration.
Would that include wounded warriors or something to that effect?
It would.
We have a really large portion of our client base are actually veterans, and we also have some caregivers that have that are veterans and have experience in the military. So it's nice they kind of can talk about things and have commonalities between the two.
What are the areas that you cover?
We're all over southern New Hampshire. Nashua for sure. We go out to Brookline and Milford. We've been out as far as Wilton. If we have a caregiver there, we're able to service. We don't do the Seacoast because there is another right at home on the Seacoast. And north, of Concord isn't really our area, but we do have some caregivers up there, so if need be.
Right. So it's not exclusive to seniors. You also take care of wounded warriors. There are other areas that, it's southern New Hampshire area.
Southern New Hampshire.
Talk to me a little bit about your staff and the whole process of you hiring people. One of the biggest concerns with anybody, who's the stranger coming into my home? How do I know that they're going to be honest? Do they speak English? Do they speak another language? Do they support my culture? All these questions have to be running through the mind. What is the vetting process?
Excellent question. It's actually a fairly lengthy process in order for us to qualify a caregiver for right at home. We obviously want the best of the best. And there are a number of mechanisms we have in place. The application process is done online, typically by everybody. And even before we get a phone call or we get any information from them, they actually have to take a competency exam online and pass it with 80% or better before we can even consider their application. In addition to putting in all of their other background information, including speeding tickets, their driving records, any criminal background. So the computer spits out or can eliminate a lot of people who don't make the first pass, if you will. Then when we get that application, we'll do a phone screen. We'll have somebody ask them a series of questions over the phone to get an idea of a level of compassion and empathy that they may have, to talk about previous caregiving experience. If they're a a skilled nursing assistant, or maybe they had 20 years experience taking care of a parent. So you don't have to have professional career experience. I mean, most of our caregivers have personal experience, and they maybe have lost loved ones, but they want to continue this work because it's so gratifying to them.
Do people ask you off the cuff questions or chores, for instance, when your caregiver comes in? By the way, can you screw in that light bulb for me? Or can you take me for a ride to the store? Or can you pick me up a bag of groceries on your way here? Is that part of the package?
We really, as far as, the groceries and the transportation, and, given the fact that a lot of our clients are able to, accompany the caregiver during these errands, and we encourage that if they're able to. But as far as, any, things that are not okayed by us, we're not in there to do, major spring cleaning, but light housekeeping and, making sure they can maintain a healthy, clean household is our goal.
But to install the garbage disposal is out of the question.
No, we're not electricians.
No.
Laundry.
Oh, definitely.
Certainly laundry, absolutely.
Laundry.
Yep.
I think some of the unusual requests we have is washing the windows. So we say we're not Mary Maids. We
Just
don't
like the
do that.
commercial, right.
Somebody once asked to have their outside deck power washed, so
Right.
we wouldn't do that. But we've had caregivers that have shoveled in the wintertime.
Yeah.
We just, if there's ever any question, the caregiver will call in because we're not a cleaning service, but we're there, as Nicole said, we want to keep them safe, comfortable, healthy surroundings. But you'll be surprised what some caregivers will just go above and beyond and do things for their clients just because they consider them, they're somebody important in their life, and the relationships that develop can be very extraordinary. They really can.
It sounds like it's a nice safety net, especially for somebody who might be living alone, potentially able to break a hip, or and I'm sure there must be a protocol for emergencies.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, we have 24-hour on-call. You're able to reach a live right-at-home person any hour of the day. And, our caregivers are very in tune with being able to pick up on, somebody's kind of baseline, characteristics. And, something seems a little off today. And so they'll call in, and they're encouraged to call in. And, we're very big on having the family involved in, if they're willing to be, part of the person's care, and in the respect that, we're calling them if we see anything, going on, or, if we're thinking something's, maybe developing as far as, an illness or something like that. And we're always relaying any incidents that go in the home to the family members, which is nice because it really gives them peace of mind that they're, number one, going to know that they're family members with somebody who's going to keep them safe while they're there, and number two, that they're going to know about it if there is something that were to happen.
Now, this is part of a franchise, so it's not just a mom and pop shop here. This is a national organization?
It is. There are well over 220 right-at-home offices across the U.S., and actually there are a few internationally now, too. The genesis of Right at Home is interesting. It was started by a gentleman out in Omaha, Nebraska, who was in hospital administration for most of his career. And back in the late 80s, early 90s, when home care was sort of becoming more non-medical on the forefront, he was very interested in exploring that. So he went back to school and became a nursing assistant, and actually went and he took care of people in their homes. So he could walk the walk and talk the talk, so to speak. And then he ended up opening up his own office that flourished, and he had a certain model in terms of what he expected of caregivers, of education and training, and that grew to Right at Home, and then he opened that up, and that was in the early to mid-90s. So they're now, as I said, 220 some odd strong offices. And we get together frequently for regional meetings and a big annual meeting, and the franchisees share experiences, and it is the most beneficial. of the whole program, that we can learn from each other and implement new programs, or share things. Here's a brochure we did on this. What do you think of this? And so it's a tremendous resource. It really is.
Speaking of sharing, do you have any stories where you've helped people, and any success stories that you'd like to share?
Many.
Yeah.
I always, well, I'm going to do two quick ones. We had a client, a 90-year-old woman who lived in her own apartment next to her daughter and son-in-law. And she wasn't getting out of bed in the morning. She didn't want to get dressed. She didn't want to eat. And her daughter was at wit's end. She was losing weight. She was giving up on life. So we went in and we talked to the family first and got the background information. And then I went back to the office and started talking about who I thought would be maybe a good caregiver. We'd like to find out what people's likes and dislikes and passions are. And this was a woman who had moved to New Hampshire from Connecticut. She was a major Yankees fan.
Mm-hmm.
She had Yankee Afghan. She had Yankee wall hangings. She had the hat. It was all about the Yankees. So we gave all this information to scheduling and came up with somebody, and I went and we did something we do is a meet and greet. When we pick out a caregiver who we think is going to be a good match, then we will bring them in, and for 1 hour at no charge to the client, we will have the caregiver spend time getting to know them so that they can feel comfortable before they actually start the assignment, and they have a choice, right? So I brought the caregiver in, and she went right over to the woman, addressed her by name, and said, "Hey, it's almost 2 o'clock. Are we going to watch the Yankees game today?" And the woman just sat up in bed. By the end of that first visit, she had gotten her out of bed, out of her pajamas, the pajamas washed. She had eaten a whole meal. She was another person in one visit. So, oftentimes too, it's sort of like children,
Right.
When it's a parent there, they may not listen when it's an outsider. Well, the same thing when it's I'm not going to listen to my child tell me what to do. But there was somebody with giving her, sharing a passion and speaking with her about some new things, breathing new life into her, basically. So I always use that story. And then the other thing that I think is really, really important is about 3 years ago, we signed on a gentleman whose family members are down in the Boston area, south of Boston. Couldn't always get up. And he goes to Florida in the wintertime. So we provide services for him during the spring and summer, and then he goes to Florida and come back, and we reinstate the services. So this year, he just came back a couple of weeks ago, and his daughter emailed me and said, 3 years ago, I was beside myself. I didn't know what to do. And here's my father 3 years later. He is a severe diabetic. He's blind in one eye. He's a heart patient, and he is living at home by himself with just a little bit of care, happy, and this has solved my problems. And she also said, this is what my friends tell me. This is the model. This is the way it should be for people to be able to age in place.
Right.
Because he desperately wanted to stay at home. He had just lost his wife.
Instead of being institutionalized.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, I'm sold. So, right at home, how do people get in touch with you?
They can call us and at 603-216-9296, and they can speak with any member of our office team, and we can.
Do they talk to you?
They can talk to me. They can talk to Janet, and we really, right from the beginning, we want to foster that relationship with them and with the family members, and we may go out. Meet just for coffee somewhere, just to kind of talk, especially if it's, a family member who's meeting about, their loved one and that loved one's not comfortable with the services yet. Or, we can go in and we've had plenty of people who are saying, nope, I don't need the help. And, we're able to go in and kind of, introduce a friend to them. So we can really have, certain ways of approaching it with people to make them comfortable with accepting the service.
Is there a website?
There is, yes. And you can reach us at rightathome -snh.com.
Didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Yes.
Well,
and
Say that again?
www.
Okay.
Yeah.
www.
right at home hyphen SNH, as in Southern New Hampshire, .com.
And finally, what are some of the misconceptions that people have with this whole thing? We've covered a lot of the area, but who's the person that generally makes the phone call? Is it the children or is it the parents?
It varies, but we see a lot of the children now reaching out, and a lot of people out of state and you know, halfway across the country, and you know, they're not home. They're not there able to be there, or they may live in the same town, but they've still got to work.
They don't want to put them in a nursing home. They don't want to put them in a facility.
Right.
They want just somebody to come in to be a companion while they're away.
Right.
Absolutely.
The other thing that's, I think, a very important common thread is that many of our clients have some form of dementia or Alzheimer's. It's becoming epidemic now. So oftentimes in those cases it's a family member, because the client-to-be may not think that anything is wrong, but the family seeing losing keys, can't drive anymore, forgets things. So that's where a challenge will come in, because you may sit down with that person and say, no, I'm absolutely fine. And then it will take the daughter or son to say, yeah, but Mom, remember, you left the stove on all night the other night. We want to just make sure we're safe. We're not going to tell you what to do. We're just going to make sure that you're safe at the beginning and the end of the day.
It's an added level of security.
Yep.
Exactly. It's like insurance.
Right. One more time with the phone number, if I may ask.
603-365, 216-9296.
Okay.
Yep.
Gina, I want to thank you for coming on.
Have a nice
Nicole?
to
Thank you
meet
so
you.
much for
Thank you
having
so
us.
much. It was a pleasure.
And I wish you great success.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I hope this has been very helpful to our listeners and our followers right at home. You know how to get in touch with them. If you're having a problem getting in touch with them, you can get in touch with Gate City Chronicles. Just email us at gatecitychronicles@gmail.com. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Patty,
And I'm Patty.
and we're here to invite you to the Big Day of Serving, taking place May 19th here in Nashua. It's a youth-oriented event for 6th grade through high school. It's an opportunity for you to give back to your community.
If you're interested in signing up for the Big Day or becoming involved in the Big Day of Serving, we suggest you contact us through our web address, which is
www.thebigdayofserving.com.
Thank you.
And welcome back to Gate City Chronicles. I have some very special guests here today, and I want to introduce Patty and Patty. See, I can be taught, right?
There you go.
Yep.
And today's segment is about the Big Day of Service, right?
Serving, Big Day of Serving.
Big Day of Serving.
Yes.
Patty, why don't you talk about it?
Let me give you a little bit of background information first, just to sort of tell you how we came to be. I've been involved in doing youth mission trips for about 11 years with my church. And so every year we take a group of youth someplace across the country and we serve for a week. So we stay in a high school, we sleep on floors, we serve residents, building wheelchair ramps, painting houses, inside and out, doing landscaping, deck repair, all of that sort of thing, and just kind of making a difference and giving our youth an opportunity to give back and to grow. And so the organization that we work with, Group Cares out of Colorado, started 3 years ago this Big Day of Serving. So when we were at a work camp 3 years ago, it was introduced to us, and I said, I'm so going to do that. I'm so going to either do it or I'm going to bring it back to Nashua. So it sort of ruminated for a couple of years, and they didn't have any locations close to us in New England as of yet that they were doing them, because they're completely community built. So an organization in a community has to say, I want to bring a Big Day of Serving to my community in order for it to happen. So last year, Danbury, Connecticut put on a Big Day of Serving, and we got collectively together as a group, Patty and her husband and some youth from her church, and myself and my husband and my son all went down to Danbury, Connecticut and did a Big Day of Serving. We participated for the day. And that's sort of when the idea came to be, we are so bringing this back to Nashua, because there's a huge need in Nashua, and why not give our kids an opportunity to serve locally? So that's conversation started.
It's not Habitat for Humanity. This is something
No,
totally
not at all.
different. This is
Yeah.
Yeah.
this is more of a community type of
Community involvement.
involvement.
Right.
And the whole idea behind the Big Day of Serving is to have an impact on the community, you know, a visual impact for people in the community to see the work that we're doing and to see us come in masses to do the work. So it's just, you know, trying to change the lives of the residents of that neighborhood.
Now, are we only asking for youth to be part of this project?
No, so it's geared towards youth. It is a youth mission trip, a youth mission event, and it is geared towards youth. But if we had a group of adults from another organization that said, hey, we want to participate, we certainly would not turn them away at all.
What are some of the projects that you have in mind?
There are 13, I think, or so different work sites with over 23 specific projects going on in all of those work sites. So at Mount Pleasant School, for instance, which is the school that feeds that whole French Hill neighborhood, which is
Right.
where we will be, we're putting in new playground equipment and doing a ton of landscaping over there and some repair of one of their sheds. The Upper Room and the Toll Street Mission and the Dental Connection, which are all service-oriented organizations, we're doing projects over there, putting in a kitchenette in the Toll Street Mission, putting a new ceiling and doing some painting and interior and exterior work at the Upper Room, doing a lot of landscaping and painting at the Dental Connection. And then the residents, the homes that we're working on, it's minor deck repair, it's replacing stairs that are broken or run down, it's doing some painting. The Salem Street Tot Lot is getting a nice little makeover with landscaping and cleaning up and, you know, refreshing and that sort of thing.
Who's donating to this project?
Oh my gosh, the list goes on and on.
Absolutely.
We've reached out to a lot of local organizations that have really stepped forward. The City of Nashua has made a huge contribution.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely. And I will tell you that Diane Sheehan has been the forefront spokesperson for helping us to get this done, because, you know, I've never done anything like this before. So she's been instrumental in kind of guiding us through the process, and I bless that woman.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Nashua Bank has climbed on board, the Sausage King, Nashua Wallpaper, Reed's Ferry Lumber. I mean, the list just goes on and on. People have been very generous with donations and with funding and
Gift in kind.
gift in kind.
Very
yeah.
good, yeah.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
How many people do you have on board so far?
So there's a difference. There's a whole volunteer team that sort of is doing everything behind the scenes, anywhere from, you know, the hospitality team that's putting on all the food for the event, the events team, which is putting on the opening kickoff, and then our huge block party that's taking place at the end of the day. There's the whole projects team. We have a project supervisor for each of the projects that we're doing to sort of guide the youth in the task of the day. So we have about 80 some odd volunteers just doing all that behind the scene work, and then we still have participants that we're hoping to register, and they have to do that online.
What's the age limit?
6th grade and up.
Through high school.
Through high school.
6th
right.
grade and up.
Yeah.
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 So of course, you know, we're targeting the youth groups in area churches, targeting high school honor societies, you know, those types of youth group organizations that
Boy
require.
Scouts, Girl Scouts.
Boy Scout,
Yeah,
Girl
yeah.
Scout.
We went and spoke with a group from the at the Y, part of their leadership program. We went and did a presentation for them, and I know that they have a group that's registering as well.
Have you
So
spoken with the
it's
Boys and
kinda
Girls
cool.
Club?
I did not, although I will tell you that there's a Positive Street Art, which does a program over at the Boys and Girls Club, are very involved in some of the work that we're going to be doing.
Wonderful.
So, yeah.
And where is the targeted area again?
French Hill.
French Hill. And for some of our viewers where is that?
The French Hill and the,
So Canal Street, so BAE, that whole parking lot, anything north of that, between that and
going
Greeley
up the hill.
Park.
yeah,
Right.
Library
Toll Street.
Hill.
Right. Toll Street, Lock Street, there's some projects on Summer Street, Salem Street, the Salem Street
Yeah.
Tot Lot, so in that area.
And the whole idea with the impact is that it's within a 1-block radius, would you say?
Yeah, probably a
of-
couple blocks,
Couple
yeah.
blocks,
Right.
you know, so.
Are you going to be blocking off the streets?
No,
Yeah.
no.
There's just going to be a lot of
There'll
people
be
in
a
town.
presence,
Yeah.
there will absolutely be a presence, yeah.
Well, where will the block party be?
At Greeley Park.
At Greeley Park. That's where everybody starts, and then
That's,
they just...
no, that's where everybody ends. So
Yeah.
we start at Elm Street Middle School in the auditorium.
Oh, nice.
We have a band from the Immaculate Conception Church, their Life Tree Band or Life Teen Band, is coming to do some music. We have an MC coming from Colorado who's going to sort of get them all excited and like ready to go.
Yeah.
And then they'll make their way to BAE parking lot and walk to their projects or to Mount Pleasant School. And then at the end of the day, they'll go to Greeley Park. And we have a huge celebration for them with all kinds of, fun food. And there's a band from Manchester Christian that's going to be there. We have a puppeteer that's going to be there. I mean, it's just going to be a great way to celebrate this.
So we're already
amazing
praying for
day.
good weather, right?
You
We
got
are.
that.
And what is the date that is targeted to do this?
May 19th.
May 19th, so we got to air this right away.
This is
3
true.
weeks, yeah.
3 weeks.
Three
Yeah.
weeks and counting.
How did people get in touch with you to get involved with this?
They can go to our website, which is thebigdayofserving.com, and then their contact information is sent to me. I mean, I have my own phone number and email that they can contact me with too as well, but yeah.
Best bet is to go through the
But
website.
yes, to
The
go through the
website?
website,
Okay.
yeah,
Correct.
and just
May
contact
19th,
somebody.
Yep,
and it is the big day of serving.
Yes.
correct,
Talk to Patty.
correct.
How are we doing so far? Very
Absolutely,
good.
beautifully.
Anything else you want to add to this? What?
Just that, we're hoping, our goal in doing this is that it's going to be a yearly event for us.
Right.
And, we've already, like Patty mentioned, received the support of the city, which is big.
Yeah,
So they've been a big supporter of us. And we're just hoping that the residents of Nashua will see the impact that we have on the community so that in future years, we'll garner a larger support base.
And you know what, for me, it's really about youth involvement
Yeah.
and really allowing youth to sort of give back and make a difference because it changes
Right.
a whole community. I mean, it really does.
It changes
It's
the community and it changes the lives of the people who participate in it.
absolutely.
Well, when
So-
people have stock in their community and they actually
Yeah.
give back to it, they take an ownership to it.
And that's
That's
what the
what-
big
that's what we're
goals
hoping
of this
for.
day is.
That's great. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. We're going to air this, obviously, and try to get it out as quickly as possible.
Great.
And to the people of Nashville, we hope that you partake in this program. This
Absolutely.
sounds like a fun event.
Come by and check us out on May
On the
19th.
19th,
For
yeah,
sure.
for sure.
And help.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely. Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks.